What's up, guys? So I need to talk to y'all really quickly about what's going to be happening over the next couple of days, maybe even the next month or so. I don't know. Let me start off with saying Grounded is not going anywhere. I'm just kind of taking a little bit of a break from it for the very simple reason that tomorrow Pokemon comes out. And that is going to because I know how I am with it, and this is the kind of Pokemon I've been waiting for generations. It's going to take over my life. I already know it now. I'm not going to be able to think about anything else. And I feel like the sentiment is shared with a lot of people, maybe many of you within the community that enjoy playing the game as well. This kind of Pokemon coming out, I would say it rivals the anticipation, for me anyways, it rivals the anticipation of what Halo Infinite was when it was first announced and what Diablo 4 is for me. Like, just that level of really waiting for a game like this. It's what this Pokemon is. The only other one I can think of in more recent times before all of this that I was really excited about before Infinite, before Diablo, was probably Breath of the Wild. Like, I had been waiting with bated breath for Breath of the Wild to come out. I was stupid excited for that. It's the same thing with this Pokemon. But before I jump on to that, let me stress that, like I said, Grounded's not going anywhere. Rhythm and I have been having a blast playing it. We really have. We've played it a lot longer behind the scenes than we have on camera. Obviously, as you've seen with the base tour, that took us a while. That took us 12 hours to do because we did it the dumb way, but I don't want to talk about that. But we still have been playing it a lot behind the scenes. So it's not going anywhere. And we still have the pond base, which I actually recorded an episode of us going into the pond base. I've gotten into the pond base and I've gotten it opened up. But the problem was it was tattered onto the back end of the hedge base. So we did all the hedge base and most of getting ready in the pond all in one recording. And I think the problem was just because I was recording for so long, my microphone started cutting out on me for some reason. I don't know what the hell happened. You could barely hear me most of the time, even though I was, at some point I was actually straight up yelling, but it was still just going in and out. I don't know what the hell happened, so that footage is therefore useless, unfortunately. But there's still a lot we have to do on the pond. So there's still a lot more that we're gonna have to go back in and deal with anyway, so it's not done by any means. So there's still gonna be like a pond-based episode. We already have the super chip out of the pond base. That's it. We just got the pond base open. Haven't really explored it too much yet, so there's still a lot of that to do. And when we go into the next episode of it, I'll explain everything that had been done and what needs to be done. So really, there's nothing lost. There will be nothing lost for those who are waiting to see what the pond base looks like, who hasn't gotten to it yet. I'll still get you through all of that. Don't worry, that's still going to be there. After that, we have an idea for an episode that I have a poll out for now. And the poll will stay up until after this pond base, so you can vote from now until then on if you want to see a base building episode. Because after we get through with the pond base, we have to build a base in another part of the yard to prepare for the adventures on that side of the yard. And that's going to be the biggest base we've done so far. I have another huge base plan that I want to build, but for what we're going to need and for how far away it is from everything else, we're going to need a nice size base that kind of covers everything. So that's going to be a huge base build, and I'm leaving it up to the community if they want to see that or not. If not, it's no big deal. I can still do a base reveal like I did with the hedge base in the last episode. Still do a base reveal after. It's entirely up to y'all. I'll leave the link down to the post in the description below, but go vote now if that's what you want to see. I do a lot of these posts. Keep an eye out on the channel. I do a lot of these posts to keep track of what the community's interested in, and also to kind of give announcements and keep in touch base. I use that. I use the posts. I don't use Twitter or anything like that much anymore. I use YouTube posts. So if you want to know what's going on with me, if you want to talk with me and stuff like that, it's the YouTube posts. But Pokemon Scarlet. It comes out tomorrow at the time of recording this video. I know when it comes out, it's going, as I said, it's going to take over my life because it's literally a Pokemon I have been waiting for since Pokemon Red. Probably, I think about like 2012, 2010, 2013-ish, and around there. I think that's about right. There was an image. I don't know if I'll be able to find this damn image. If I can, I'll put it up right now. If not, there was an image that was floating around on the internet of Viridian Forest. It was like in an Unreal Engine, this image. And it was a trainer, I think, squaring up against Blastoise in Viridian Forest for some reason. Either way, squaring up against Blastoise with a Charizard or something like that. But it looked, like I said, it was in the Unreal Engine, and it was Viridian Forest. The Blastoise was stepping out of some tall grass, something like that. They were getting ready to fight. When I seen that image, it kind of just re-sparked the hope that I had for Pokemon back when Pokemon Stadium first came out on Nintendo 64. Because back when that first came out on the 64, I think that was the first time outside of Pokemon Snap. I don't remember if Pokemon Snap came out before that, but I think Pokemon Stadium was like the first real time like you got to really interact and play and do things with 3D rendered Pokemon. I think that was that was the first time you got to battle with 3D rendered Pokemon. You got to see abilities, like you got to see fire abilities, you got to see water abilities, like all these attacks and stuff like that. It was a whole new level of Pokemon. After about Gold and Silver is where I actually fell off. I didn't play any of the new games for that. I played the remakes of Fire Red and Soul Silver and Heart Gold. I played those. But outside of that, I kind of just fell off of handheld gaming, and I just fell more into console gaming. And when the Switch came out and they announced Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, or Pikachu Let's Go Eevee, whatever, that reinvigorated kind of like my love for it, because it was that approach. It reminded me of that image of the Unreal Engine and Viridian Forest, and it showed me, hey, they were starting to take these steps. Because when that first came out, I didn't think that was going to be something they were going to do anytime soon, because Pokemon's always been Nintendo's best handheld game. Like all the handhelds, that's what sold most of the handhelds, and people bought it because the kids were so obsessed with it, because they wanted to be able to trade, or they wanted to be able to take pictures, they wanted to be able to upload these things, they wanted to be able to do all of these different things. So they went out and bought all of these different tools. Pokemon has been the moving force for these devices for years. And that's why, like, when I seen the image, I was like, there's no way in hell they would put it on console. But the Switch showed that with the Switch being technically a handheld and being a console at the same time, then they put out Let's Go Eevee. I was like, oh, they might actually start doing this. So it reinvigorated my love for Pokemon. That's when I finally came back. And then Sword and Shield, as much as everybody hated this game, and after doing a lot of research and just seeing where the hate stemmed from, I kind of get most of it. Then again, I also say it was a goddamn tree. Some of y'all just need to chill. For those that actually know what that controversy is about, I'm not going to rehash it here. Pokemon Shield, Sword and Shield, outside of having the Wild Zone, I enjoyed that aspect of it, of just having a lot of Pokemon just in the zone that you can walk into, kind of carried over what Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu started. And then took it a bit further, and it helped me realize what I had been missing the most. Aside from being able to walk in like this 3D environment and having like your actual Pokemon model, the Pokemon following behind you with an actual model outside of it just being Pikachu or whatever model it was in the ball, there was the camping, actually. And that's what made me fall in love with Sword and Shield so much. If you've seen my series, Arceus, It was the first legitimate video series that I've actually finished on YouTube. The only other series I've actually finished so far on YouTube was was Final Fantasy VII Remake, and that was fully streamed on YouTube. This was the first one that I've actually recorded and finished from beginning to end, outside of the hybrid way I went about it. You could see in Arceus, especially if you watch that playthrough, I kind of end up developing like this affinity with my actual party. I put these expectations. I don't see the Pokemon that I have as just Pokemon to use, because I don't approach it with that competitive standpoint. I've always approached them as like part of the family almost. I treat them as such, and I treat them with expectations and stuff because I'm raising them, quote unquote, in that aspect of I'm giving them the best I can. They need to give me the best they can. I just fall into that immersion of it. That's where my immersion of it comes from. Arceus kind of defined it a little bit better, but Sword and Shield's camping system kind of showed me that's what I enjoyed the most about it. Was outside of battling, I got to interact with them at the campsites. I got to feed them, I got to play with them, I got to actually really, because they've had that love system for a while in there where like you can even it was even in Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, where if they loved you enough, if the Pokemon cared for you enough, they would either break certain status conditions because they didn't want you to worry. They hit harder because they wanted you to be proud of them. They dodged because they listened to you, like there was that teamwork. And then in Sword and Shield, they kind of showed you, like they made it to where you built that up in camp. Like you played with them, you spent time with them until they started to actually care for you, and you even got to see the progress through the hearts and whatnot. And your Pokemon party started to do better. I love that aspect of it totally, because it fit that immersion I felt for it, in the sense of just raising Pokemon and building that relationship. Arceus brought it a step further, in the sense of you needed them for survival aspects. You needed them to knock items out of trees, open up pathways, protect you from other wild Pokemon, and then help you gather materials that you needed to feed, to keep yourself alive, to build items and stuff like that. Like there was another aspect of teamwork that came out of that. And now Scarlet, from what I've seen in previews and from what I've been told through other people in the community who have been researching it, Scarlet's keeping that, in the sense of they have the camping mode where you can spend time with them, feed them. And from what I've been told, I don't think I've seen footage of it yet, but from what I've seen, you still use them out in the world as you did with Arceus in order for survival, pick up items and stuff like that. And then on top of that, of course, it's open world. It brings back the hope that I felt, that I had in that image of the Viridian Force, of the trainer approaching that Blastoise with Charizard. Violet and Scarlet should be the culmination of what that image showed that Pokemon could be. This could be the start of all of that, to where they begin to forever move away from the 2D and just start building on the world of just living together with your Pokemon. They've got the battle system down. They've got the competitive scene down. They've got a rinse and repeat story down. But now they're approaching a new dynamic of just full-on survival and getting to know your team and interacting with your team so much more. But that would be the next thing, because of where they are with Scarlet and how they've got open world now. They have the freedom to take on gyms however you want now. Like this one doesn't tout any linearity. Is that a word? There's no linear approach to the game anymore in this. You can go take on the gyms in any order you want. You can take on the story in any order you want. That's gone. The only other thing they could do is just change the battle systems of what they introduced in Pokken. Like, there's really not much left unless they just radically Unless suddenly it stops being Pokemon and it's suddenly like Digimon or something like that. Something like terribly, radically different. Kind of rambled for a little bit. I kind of started going on a ramble for a bit. But if it isn't obvious, I'm going to be, as I said in the beginning, when Pokemon Scarlet comes out, that's going to be kind of what I'm diving into on the channel. So I just want to give y'all a heads up on what's going on with the channel from here on, what I'm going to be focusing on, what I'm going to be, because like I said, when that comes out, there goes my life for that period. When I'm finally able to sit down and play it, that's going to be the content for a while on the channel. So I mean, I hope y'all enjoy hanging out with me, because if you don't like Pokemon too much, sorry. We'll get back to Grounded eventually. Like I said, at some point, Rhythm and I will sit down and record more stuff for it, of course. And I promise it's not going anywhere. And to those who joined because of the Grounded content, I appreciate you coming to join. If you haven't if you haven't explored the channel and seen yet, I'm a variety gamer. I'm a variety content creator. I go all over the place. So hopefully you joined because you like the personality, not just because there was Grounded there. But I want to say I appreciate you all for joining. Welcome to the community. I hope you all get to stay and have fun. And I hope Pokemon Scarlet is going to be another big boost for the channel. We'll see. But I shall see you all in the next one.